The salt air tasted like failure. Emma Charlotte sat at the corner table of Ocean's Edge, her marine biology diploma trembling in her hands. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the Pacific stretched endlessly, indifferent to her achievement. Her family had vanished back east within hours of the ceremony. Her classmates had scattered like frightened fish. She was alone. "Ready to order, miss?" Emma glanced at the empty chair across from her. "Grilled salmon and white wine. It's my graduation day." The waiter's smile was genuine. "Congratulations. The wine's on the house." She watched couples lean into candlelight. Families raised toasts to bright futures. Everyone belonged somewhere. Everyone except her. Then a shadow fell across her table. She looked up and the world tilted. Green eyes, the color of deep ocean currents, stared back at her. The man moved through the restaurant like he owned the very air inside it. Navy suit perfectly tailored, dark hair kissed by salt wind. In his hand, a single white rose glowed against the dim lighting. "Nobody should spend their graduation day without flowers," he said. His voice was whiskey smooth and dangerous. He placed the rose beside her diploma with the reverence of a prayer. Emma's breath caught. "Do we know each other?" His smile was a weapon wrapped in silk. "Not yet. I'm Sebastian Hayes." The name hit her like a rogue wave. Sebastian Hayes, tech mogul, billionaire. The man whose face graced magazine covers, whose company was reshaping sustainable energy across the globe. And he was sitting down at her table. "This has to be some kind of joke," she whispered. Sebastian's laugh was dark honey. "No joke. Just a man who recognizes brilliance when he sees it." He lifted her diploma, studying it with intense focus. "Marine biology from UC San Diego. The ocean needs warriors like you, Emma." Heat flooded her cheeks. "How do you know my name?" "I make it my business to know remarkable people." The restaurant buzzed with whispered recognition. Phones angled their way, but Sebastian's attention never wavered from her face. "Why me?" Emma asked, barely audible. "Why tonight?" Sebastian leaned forward. She caught expensive cologne mixed with something darker, more complex. "Because tonight you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And so am I." His words wrapped around her like a promise and a threat. Emma's rational mind screamed warnings, but her lonely heart was already reaching toward the warmth he offered. "What do you want from me?" she whispered. Sebastian's smile turned predatory, beautiful, and terrifying in equal measure. "Everything." 3 weeks later, Emma's world had transformed into something unrecognizable. Sebastian's penthouse overlooking San Diego Harbor had become her second home. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered views that made her feel like she was floating above the city, but it was the man himself who had become her obsession, his presence intoxicating, addictive, terrifying. "You're thinking too hard again," Sebastian murmured from behind her, breath warm against her neck as she stood at the window. His arms encircled her waist. She leaned back against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. "I got the call today," she said softly. "Dr. Rodriguez wants me for the kelp restoration project." His arms tightened around her. "That's incredible news. When do you start?" "Next month. In Monterey." She turned in his arms, studying his face. "Sebastian, how did you know she would choose me? You said you'd put in a good word, but this feels like more than that." Something flickered in his green eyes, there and gone so quickly she almost missed it. "I may have mentioned your research to a few colleagues. Your work speaks for itself, Emma." She wanted to believe him, needed to believe him, but doubt crept in like cold water. "Come with me," Sebastian said suddenly, "to the fundraiser Friday night. Show the ocean conservation community what they're getting." "Sebastian, that's your world. I don't belong there." He cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. "You belong with me. That's all that matters." Friday arrived wrapped in fog and expensive perfume. The ballroom glittered with San Diego's elite. Emma wore a navy dress Sebastian had bought her, feeling like an imposter among women dripping in diamonds. She clung to his arm as he navigated the crowd with practiced ease. "Sebastian Hayes," a woman's voice cut through the chamber music, "finally gracing us with your presence." The woman was striking. Silver hair, sharp eyes, a smile that never reached her face. Dr. Vivian Chen, founder of the Pacific Research Institute. "Dr. Chen," Sebastian's voice was carefully neutral. "May I introduce Emma Charlotte? She'll be joining the Monterey Kelp Project." Dr. Chen's gaze swept over Emma like a blade. Ah, yes, Rodriguez's new prodigy. Tell me, Miss Charlotte, what makes you qualified for such a prestigious position? Emma's throat tightened. My thesis focused on kelp forest ecosystem dynamics and climate resilience strategies. Fascinating. Dr. Chen's tone suggested it was anything but. And your connection to Mr. Hayes had nothing to do with your selection? The question landed like a slap. Dr. Chen, Sebastian's voice dropped to something dangerous. Emma earned that position on merit alone. Of course, Dr. Chen's smile was poison. Just like the Institute's new wing bears your name purely by coincidence. Tell me, Sebastian, does she know? Sebastian's hand tightened painfully on Emma's waist. Know what? Dr. Chen leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper meant for Emma alone. That he owns the Institute. That he personally selected you. That Dr. Rodriguez works for him. She pulled back, satisfaction gleaming in her eyes. That everything you think you've earned has been bought and paid for by the man who claims to love you. Emma felt the floor dissolve beneath her feet. Is that true? She whispered, turning to Sebastian. The guilt in his eyes told her everything. Emma, let me explain. She stepped back, his touch suddenly burning. You bought me a job? You manipulated my entire career? I created an opportunity, Sebastian said desperately. You still had to be qualified. You still had to be brilliant. But I never had a choice. Her voice rose, drawing stares. I never had a chance to earn anything on my own. I did this for us. Sebastian grabbed her arm. So you could stay in San Diego, so we could be together. Emma wrenched free, tears streaming down her face. You did this for yourself, because you wanted me, and you're used to buying whatever you want. She turned and ran, pushing through the crowd, through the ornate doors, into the cold night air. Behind her, Sebastian's voice echoed through the ballroom. Emma, wait! There's more you don't understand. But she was already gone, drowning in the realization that everything she thought she'd built was a beautiful, expensive lie. Emma didn't go back to Sebastian's penthouse. She couldn't. She spent 3 days in a cheap motel near the harbor, ignoring his calls, drowning in betrayal. On the 4th day, an envelope slid under her door. Inside was a letter in handwriting she didn't recognize. Emma, if you want the truth about Sebastian Hayes, meet me at Pier 19 tonight at midnight. Come alone. A friend. Every instinct screamed trap, but the not knowing was worse than any danger. The pier was empty when she arrived, waves crashing against rotting wood. Fog rolled in thick, turning the world gray and shapeless. You came. Emma spun. Dr. Chen emerged from the mist, no longer polished and professional. She looked haunted, desperate. You sent the letter? Because you deserve to know what you're caught up in. Dr. Chen's hands shook. Sebastian Hayes isn't who you think he is. I know enough. He bought my career, manipulated me. That's just the surface. Dr. Chen pulled out a tablet, her fingers flying across the screen. 3 years ago, Sebastian's company developed a deep-water mining technology. Revolutionary, profitable, and absolutely devastating to marine ecosystems. Emma's blood ran cold. Dr. Chen turned the screen. Reports. Environmental impact studies. Video footage of ocean floors stripped bare, kelp forests destroyed, marine life decimated. His technology killed everything it touched. When my research exposed it, he buried the findings, bought the institute, installed Rodriguez as a puppet director. Dr. Chen's voice cracked. He's been funding ocean conservation as penance, as cover. And when you published that thesis criticizing deep-water mining, you became a problem. Emma felt sick. So he what, seduced me into silence? Worse. Dr. Chen's eyes were hollow. He fell in love with you. And that made him more dangerous. He's planning to push the technology through regulatory approval next month. Your voice as a marine biologist dating him, working for his institute, would legitimize everything. That's insane. Is it? Dr. Chen grabbed her shoulders. Think, Emma. The job in Monterey keeps you away from San Diego for months. Away from the regulatory hearings. Away from the scientists who might ask you questions. He isolated you perfectly. Emma's mind raced. The timeline fit. The manipulation fit. But something felt wrong. If this is true, why are you telling me now? Why not expose him yourself? Dr. Chen's face crumpled. Because he'll destroy me. He has evidence of research fraud, fabricated before I even met him, planted in my files. If I speak out, I lose everything. Tears streamed down her face. But you he loves. You're the only one who can stop him. Before Emma could respond, footsteps echoed on the pier. Sebastian emerged from the fog, fury and fear warring on his face. Emma, step away from her. Now. Why? Emma's voice was steel. So you can bury more truth? Control more lives? Because she's lying. Sebastian moved closer, hands raised. Dr. Chen was fired 3 years ago for falsifying data to secure grant money. She's been trying to destroy me ever since. Liar! Dr. Chen shrieked. Show her the reports, Sebastian. Show her what your technology did. Those reports are fabricated. Sebastian's voice cracked with desperation. Emma, please. I never wanted to manipulate you. I wanted to protect you. Protect me from what? Sebastian's face went pale. From the truth about why I really approached you that night. Emma's heart stopped. What truth? Sebastian's shoulders sagged, defeat written across every line of his body. Your father, David Charlotte. He was the lead engineer on my deep-water mining project. When the technology failed, when the environmental damage became clear, he tried to expose it. To ruin me, the world tilted again. My father died 5 years ago. Heart attack. Sebastian's eyes filled with anguish. He died 3 years ago, Emma, in a car accident, while carrying documents about my company. Documents that were never found. Dr. Chen laughed, sharp and cruel. Tell her the rest, Sebastian. Tell her why you really sought her out. Sebastian's voice was barely a whisper. Because I needed to know if your father told you anything before he died. If there were copies of his evidence. If you were a threat. He looked at her with devastation. I approached you to protect myself. To neutralize a potential problem. Emma felt her soul fracture. So everything was a lie. From the very beginning. No. Sebastian stepped forward, and she saw real pain in his eyes. It started as strategy. But Emma, I fell in love with you. Really, truly. Everything after that first night was real. How can I believe anything you say? Because I'm choosing you over everything. Sebastian pulled out his phone, hands shaking. These are the real environmental reports. The truth about the technology. I'm sending them to you, to every regulatory agency, to the press. His finger hovered over the send button. My company will collapse. I'll lose billions. Probably face criminal charges. Dr. Chen's eyes widened. You're bluffing. I'm done lying. Sebastian looked only at Emma. I can't change what I did. Can't bring back your father. Can't undo the manipulation. But I can give you the truth. I can sacrifice everything to make this right. Emma stared at the phone, at the man holding it, at the choice laid bare before her. Send it, she whispered. Send everything. Sebastian pressed send. The truth went viral in seconds. And in the chaos that followed, as Sebastian's empire began to crumble around them, Emma realized the most devastating truth of all. She still loved him. The fallout was nuclear. Sebastian's company collapsed within 48 hours. Stock plummeted. Board members fled. Federal investigators swarmed his offices. The man who had owned the world now owned nothing but the truth he'd finally told. Emma watched it all from her motel room. Phone buzzing with interview requests, job offers, speaking opportunities. The marine biologist who brought down a corrupt billionaire. The daughter who avenged her father. But all she felt was hollow. A knock at her door made her jump. She opened it to find Sebastian, looking like a ghost of himself. Unshaven, rumpled, eyes red from sleepless nights. Can I come in? She should have said no. Instead, she stepped aside. Sebastian moved to the window, staring out at the ocean he'd spent years destroying and then trying to save. The prosecutors offered me a deal, he said quietly. Full cooperation. Maybe avoid prison time. That's good. There's a catch. He turned, and the devastation in his eyes made her chest ache. They want you to testify about your father, about everything I told you on the pier. Emma's breath caught. Sebastian, I don't know anything about my father's work. I can't prove what you said. I know. His voice cracked. That's the problem. Without corroboration, without evidence, my confession looks like a desperate attempt at damage control. They think I'm trying to manipulate the narrative. He laughed bitterly. They're right to think that. It's what I do. What are you saying? Sebastian moved closer. Close enough that she could feel the heat of him, smell the familiar scent that still made her heart race despite everything. I'm saying I have a choice. I can claim everything I said on the pier was a lie, a fabrication meant to hurt Dr. Chen, to explain away the real environmental reports. I can say your father died of a heart attack like you always believed, that I never manipulated you, that our relationship was genuine from the start. Emma felt cold spread through her veins. That would be another lie. But it would protect you? Sebastian's hand trembled as he reached toward her face, stopping just short of touching her. You could take the job offers, build the career you deserve, not be the daughter of a dead whistleblower, the girlfriend of a criminal. You could be free. And you? I'd face the consequences of the environmental damage. Probably prison. But Emma, you'd be free of me. Free of this whole nightmare. Emma stared at him, at the man who had destroyed her and saved her, who had lied and then sacrificed everything for truth. Why are you really doing this? Sebastian finally touched her, fingers gentle against her cheek. Because loving you taught me something I'd forgotten. That some things are worth more than winning, worth more than survival. His voice dropped to a whisper. You're worth more than my redemption. Tears streamed down Emma's face. I can't let you lie for me. Not again. It wouldn't be for you. It would be my choice, my sacrifice. He pressed his forehead to hers. Let me give you this. Let me do one good thing. Sebastian. I love you, Emma Charlotte. And that's the one truth I'll never take back. Before she could respond, his phone rang. He answered, face draining of color. What? When? He grabbed his jacket. I'll be right there. What happened? Dr. Chen. Sebastian's voice was hollow. She's at my office. The investigators are there. She's claiming she has your father's original documents, the ones that were never found. Emma's heart stopped. That's impossible. Unless it's not. Sebastian headed for the door. Unless I was wrong about everything. They drove in silence, dread building with every mile. The Hayes Industries building was surrounded by police cars, news vans, chaos. Sebastian pushed through the crowd, Emma close behind. Inside, Dr. Chen stood in the lobby, clutching a weather-beaten briefcase, investigators surrounding her. Sebastian Hayes, she called out, voice ringing through the space. 3 years ago, David Charlotte tried to expose you. You had him killed, and I can prove it. The words detonated like a bomb. Sebastian went white. That's insane. I never killed anyone. Then explain this. Dr. Chen opened the briefcase. Inside were documents, photos, a USB drive. David Charlotte gave me these the day before he died. Asked me to hold them, to keep them safe in case something happened to him. Her smile was vicious. He knew you'd come for him. Emma couldn't breathe. My father knew you? We were colleagues, friends. Dr. Chen's eyes softened as she looked at Emma. He talked about you constantly. How brilliant you were. How proud he was. Her voice hardened. And how terrified he was that Hayes would hurt you to keep him quiet. Sebastian stumbled backward. I didn't kill him. The accident was investigated. It was ruled accidental. Accidents are easy to arrange when you have money and connections. Dr. Chen handed the briefcase to the lead investigator. Everything you need is in there. The environmental damage, the cover-up, and evidence that Sebastian Hayes had David Charlotte's car tampered with. The investigator's face was grim. Mr. Hayes, we need you to come with us. Emma watched, paralyzed, as they read Sebastian his rights. As they led him away, as he looked back at her with eyes full of anguish and something else. Confusion. Real, genuine confusion. And Emma realized with sickening clarity that Sebastian might actually be innocent of the one crime that mattered most, but by then it was too late. Emma spent 3 days locked in a hotel room, dissecting every document from her father's briefcase. The environmental reports were damning. The cover-up was real, but the evidence about the car accident felt wrong, too convenient, too perfect. She called the lead investigator. The brake line tampering, she said without preamble. When was it dated? A pause. 2 days before the accident. Why? Because my father's accident happened in Sacramento, but according to his calendar in these files, he was in San Diego 2 days before. Emma's hands shook as she flipped through pages. He couldn't have driven that car if it was tampered with then. Someone's lying. Miss Charlotte, are you saying you believe Mr. Hayes is innocent? Emma closed her eyes. I'm saying the timeline doesn't work. And Dr. Chen had these files for 3 years. She had access. She had motive. What motive? Revenge. Emma's voice was steel. Check her finances. Check who paid her. Because my father wouldn't have given her these documents. He barely knew her. The investigator was silent for a long moment. We'll look into it. 2 days later, the truth emerged. Dr. Chen had fabricated the car tampering evidence. The original documents were real, but she'd added her own narrative, her own revenge plot. And when investigators dug deeper, they found something else. Dr. Chen had been taking money from Hayes Industries' competitors, companies that would profit enormously from Sebastian's downfall. She'd orchestrated everything. Emma stood outside the detention center where Sebastian was being held. The sky was gray, matching the weight in her chest. When they brought him out, he looked broken. But when he saw her, something flickered in his eyes. Hope, maybe. Or just recognition that she'd come. They sat across from each other in the visiting room, plexiglass between them, phones pressed to their ears. Dr. Chen confessed, Emma said. The car accident evidence was fake. You didn't kill my father. Sebastian's exhale was shaky. I know I should feel relieved, but Emma, I still destroyed the ocean, still covered it up, still manipulated you. I know. Emma pressed her palm against the glass. And I can't forget that. Can't erase it. You shouldn't. Sebastian mirrored her gesture, hand meeting hers through the barrier. So why are you here? Because loving someone isn't about perfection. Tears streamed down her face. It's about choice. And I choose to believe that people can change. That mistakes don't define everything. That truth, even painful truth, is worth fighting for. Sebastian's voice broke. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Maybe not. Emma smiled through tears. But I'm not giving it to you for your sake. I'm giving it to myself, so I can move forward, so we both can. What does that mean? It means I'm taking the real job in Monterey, the one I actually earned. She wiped her eyes. It means you serve your time, do your community service, rebuild what you destroyed. It means we both spend the next few years becoming people who deserve a second chance. And after that? Emma stood, heart aching and soaring at once. After that, we see. No guarantees, no manipulation, just two people who found each other in the wreckage, trying to build something real. Sebastian stood too, palms still pressed to the glass. I'll wait, however long it takes. I know you will. She turned to leave, and Sebastian called out. Emma? She looked back. Thank you. For the white rose. For everything after. Emma smiled, genuine and sad and hopeful all at once. Thank you for the truth. Even the painful parts. 4 years later, Emma stood on a Monterey beach, watching her kelp restoration project thrive beneath the waves. Her research had changed policy, protected ecosystems, given the ocean a fighting chance. Behind her, footsteps crunched on sand. She turned, and there he was. Sebastian Hayes, older, humbler, wearing a simple jacket instead of expensive suits. He'd spent 2 years in prison, 2 more rebuilding his reputation through genuine conservation work. In his hand was a single white rose. Nobody should spend their victory alone, he said, echoing words from another lifetime. Emma laughed, taking the rose. You're late. The project launched 3 weeks ago. I wanted to give you time to celebrate on your own, to know this was all yours. She studied his face, seeing sincerity there, growth, change. And now? Now I'm hoping you'll let me buy you dinner. No manipulation, no schemes. Just a man who loves you, asking if you might consider giving him a real first date. Emma looked at the rose, at the man, at the ocean that had brought them together and torn them apart, and somehow led them back to each other. One condition? She said. Anything. No more lies. Ever. Even if the truth destroys everything. Sebastian took her hand, and this time the touch felt different. Earned. Real. Especially if it destroys everything. He smiled. That's when truth matters most. They walked along the beach together as the sun set over the Pacific. Two scarred people who'd learned that redemption wasn't about erasing the past. It was about choosing, every single day, to build something better from the wreckage. The ocean whispered its approval, waves carrying away the weight of what they'd been, making room for what they might become. Not perfect, not innocent, but real. And that was enough. The end.